October 23rd, 2020, back when I only had like 2,000 hours in Souls-likes, I remember seeing the advertisements for this new gacha game. Mona and Zhangling would spam my YouTube feed relentlessly, and out of sheer spite, I decided to download this silly little anime game. I remember when I first entered the game world, walking along this beach while the annoying little fairy creature would explain the game's first quest. One of the very first prompts that appeared on my screen was to input my birthday, because maybe when that day came, I would get a little something special. I remember audibly chuckling at that because my birthday would be in March and there's no way that I would be playing this silly little game for even more than a month. Oh my god. Before we get started with this discussion, here's a video of me touching grass. Okay, if you click this video, there's a good chance that you fit on either one of these three categories. You're either burned out on Genshin, you think that burning out on Genshin is a possibility, or you're one of my 5 alt accounts that I use to boost my views. Either way, I'm willing to assume that you've had your time with Genshin, and it was a good time. Where do I even begin with Genshin? Dude, this game gave me some of the fondest gaming memories I have. I remember when I got my first 5-star ever, I had just finished the Mondstadt quest and I was on my way to Liyue, and I was in this exact bridge when I tried pulling on one of the banners. I don't remember if it was Child or Klee, but I remember getting ka-chink and I literally screamed from excitement. I put her in my party immediately and I tagged with her, and her moveset went so hard. I remember talking to some friends in college when I mentioned Genshin in passing, and we all realized in delightful surprise that we all played the game. From then on we made a Discord server, and almost every week, almost every day we would log into Genshin and play together. I was the most experienced of the bunch, so they would come to me asking what were the best artifacts for a character or advice for who they should pull for. And we just had such a blast playing it. That was the first time I had ever played together with friends on a Discord call, and that was back on the patch before the launch of Inazuma. I remember being on a call, sitting at this table in Mondstadt, me as Albedo and my other buddy as Venti, and we did a little summoning ritual for our third friend to get her first 5-star ever, Kazuha, and it worked. And then there was this time when we were on this island and I said I feel Ayaka vibes, and my Venti friend got her in the next pull. And also remember like a time when it was like 6 AM of a Wednesday and I was going to have classes at 7:30 and I woke up just to pull for Raiden during her debut. I had to contain my joy not to wake up my family, and I immediately posted on our group chat that I had gotten her, only to find out that my other friend had done the exact same thing and gotten her too. A lot of people talk trash about the Inazuma arc and quest, but Jesus Christ, when I saw that final cutscene, I achieved levels of hype, the likes of which I thought were only possible through the use of heavy narcotics. Those times, at the height of the pandemic, were some of the fondest gaming memories I've ever had. This game, dude, this game is beautiful. It's fun. It's exciting. It's repetitive. It's monotonous. What happened? To record the footage that you're seeing right now, I am coming back from one of the many hiatuses I've had with this game, and what pisses me off specifically is that I always stop playing right before there's an event that involves one of my favorite characters. But this time, thankfully, I just got back in time to see 2 of my favorite characters, Eula and Kokomi. Me when I see fish women. But every time I come back from one of these hiatuses, doesn't matter if there's a new nation, a new area, a cool new event, I always find myself having less and less patience to go through all the process that Genshin puts its players through. Where did all the magic go? What made it so that my response to accidentally triggering a cutscene is no longer Sucrose my beloved, but instead this? I thought about it for a little bit, and my first theory was the following. Remember that back on the first time I had a hiatus from Genshin, it was a little after the Shenhei's debut patch. That patch was from January 5th to maybe February 15th, I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that I remember that the Chasm was about to come out and I couldn't give less of a fuck. At that point I was a bit burned out, but I couldn't really pinpoint the reason why. Oh shit, I forgot about that. Okay, but that was my reason. What about all the other people who burned out and aren't interested in Elden Ring? A few months back I saw a video that doesn't exactly answer that, but it illustrates my second theory very well. It was this video, and it showed 99 problems Genshin had for an entire year and how many of them were fixed. Out of the total 99 problems, 11 were fixed, 78 were left untouched, and 9 were made worse. The math doesn't add up because the last problem were people not being subscribed to the channel. And of course not, they should be subscribed to mine. Watching that video made me realize and somewhat understand the reason behind this feeling of burnout that the game gave me. And the feeling that I have is that Hoyoverse doesn't care about its players, even if that isn't necessarily true. Over these past 2 years, one thing that I've seen a lot of players consistently complain about is the lack of endgame content, and that is true. The only piece of endgame content there is the Abyss. There's also the card game, but I'm not touching that shit with like a 10-foot pole. The last thing I need in my life is anime Gwent. The Abyss is nothing more than a ridiculous and unfairly timed DPS check. My account is good, I have good characters, and they're quite well min-maxed. And I did spend a few dollars on this game, somewhere between 200 and too many. Yet for this entire time, I've only been able to fully 36-star the Abyss like 3 or 4 times. You might hear me say this and come to the conclusion that I have a skill issue, to which I say, why don't you come 1v1 me in a better game, pussy? No, it's not about skill, look at this shit. I haven't even opened Genshin as of the recording of this part of the script, but I already know that there's going to be something stupid on floor 12. You can't hit the enemy for half the fucking time, you're forced to wait as they dig around or run away or activate some stupid iframe exactly when I'm about to use my Eula nuke. But that's just the Abyss, and frankly, it's only a part of the problem with Genshin. Let's say that you just began the game and you happen to pull Scaramouche on your first 10 pulls. Congratulations, I am not jealous. Let's see what you need to level him. Oh, this isn't good. To upgrade a character's skill past level 6, you need the weekly boss materials. Scaramouche needs materials from a boss that is all the way in Sumeru, the 4th nation you'll visit, and that's a minimum of 40 hours of gameplay away. And no, you can't just go there in the beginning of the game because that boss is locked behind a very long story quest that only unlocks after you've done everything related to the main quest in all the other 3 nations and in Sumeru. You might look at me and say, okay, but that's why beginner players should be pulling on the permanent banner, since those characters are... My brother in Christ, Dia is on the permanent banner and she uses those same late game materials to level her skills. If you go there with the hopes of getting Dilo or Kaching, you might get fucked by RNGesus after he gives you the fire cat girl instead. You'll be left stuck with her at a low level, having wasted a chance to get a character that could actually carry your team. And even if you're pulling on an event banner that has a character from the beginning of the game, like Hu Tao or Child, they still put all the characters from the permanent banner as a 50-50 chance on the event banners, so there is a chance that you might pull on the event banner with the hopes of getting a good character, and RNGesus fucks you again and gives you Dia. This progression system is not a problem just with the materials. A lot of the times the events involve characters that were most recently released, and if you haven't reached a certain point in the story yet, you can't participate in the event because it's locked behind several hours of story quests. And there's also the times where you can't start a quest because a certain character is busy doing something else. Oh, and if you can't begin or complete an event in time, you will miss out on lore and primogems and materials forever because they don't rerun. The system that they're doing for the banners and leveling and quest progression is just stupid, there's no other way to put it. I am not here to find a solution, I'm just here to complain. And don't even get me started on the weapon banner. Every single new weapon released is tailor-made for a specific character, and the problem with that is that a lot of the times, for the other characters, they are about as good as a 4-star weapon, and at worst they're just completely useless. They have these long and hyper-specific descriptions that are made to work very carefully and deliberately with one character, and the rest get to enjoy the benefits if they're lucky, but that's not all. The weapon banner also has this stupid pity system that is better than nothing, but it's bad. It doesn't guarantee you shit unless you fail to get the weapon you wanted twice, and it doesn't translate between banners. This means that if you are being particularly unlucky, you will get the weapon of your choice after 240 pulls. And seeing how generous the game is with giving you the gacha currency, if you're a completely free-to-play player, pulling on the weapon banner is just a complete and utter waste of your resources. It's not like getting the weapon will make you complete the Abyss, and even if you do, what are you going to do with the 600 primos that you get as a reward? I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to get 2 debate clubs and a fucking Toma. Okay, sorry for the rant. All those things I mentioned are just problems with the way the game works, and it's not the end of the world. More importantly, they're not the reason why you and I might be feeling burned out. They are just annoying. The reason is most likely what I said a few minutes back. Genshin doesn't have diversified and dynamic endgame content. They will not make diversified and dynamic endgame content because they don't have to. As far as I know, Genshin only has one competitor, one other game that is a gacha Breath of the Wild clone with elemental magic and shit, and that game is Tower of Fantasy. There might be other games like it, but since I've never heard of them, they don't exist. And even if they do exist, they are not big enough to compete directly with Genshin. Even Tower of Fantasy isn't pulling numbers as big as Genshin is. And essentially what that means is that Genshin has no reason to innovate. Their current formula works and it's already hugely successful, and trying something new and risky might break the careful and affluent balance that they have already established. And that's why you'll keep having the same quest format, the same combat, the same events over and over and over again. Because it's stable, because it works for them. I stopped a bit after the Shenhei debut and I came back on Yelan. Then I kept playing for a while, stopped and came back on the Archipelago rerun. And then kept playing until the Nilo banner. Me when I see Nino clones. I got her, saw that she only worked well with Denjo, and then I left the game again, only to come back on Naida's rerun. I got her, played for a little, and leveled her in Nilo, then I stopped for a while and came back to record this video. It's not that I missed the way things were, because as we've discussed, jack shit has changed, but I missed the way that this game made me feel. I had tons of fun playing in single player and tons of fun playing in multiplayer, but now, that feeling of magic and wonder, knowing that I could escape to this beautiful and colorful world, it's gone. I 100%ed most of the regions, but right now I can't even be bothered to open that chest right over there. I barely touched Sumeru, especially the desert, and to be perfectly honest, I haven't the slightest intention of doing so. And the likelihood is that I will no longer be playing this game by the time Fontaine comes out. I might try to log back to pull the Hydro Archon or this hot dude, but it pains me to see that my passion for this game is gone. Okay, so while I was editing this video, I found out that there's going to be a Scaramouche rerun on this patch, so I might stick around just to try to get him, but after that I promise it's over. Me when twinks with abandonment issues.